Hello everyone, Tina here. I'm here for Pretty Pink Posh, and today we are going to create a really elegant and sparkly Christmas card. We're going to be using the Pretty Pink Posh Pine Wreath Stamp Set. We're going to use the coordinating die set that goes with it. We have the Christmas greeting script die set, but although we're only going to use the Christmas in here. And then we're also going to be bringing in the Holiday Sentiment Stamp Set. All three of these are new, part of the Pretty Pink Posh holiday release, and I hope you get a chance to check it out. It's a super fun release. We're going to do a little heat embossing today, so I'm bringing in some red cardstock, and I'm going to take my stamping positioner, and we're going to stamp this beautiful wreath. I'm stamping on some rich red cardstock. We're going to die cut this out so it doesn't have to be exactly centered. And then while we are stamping, I'm also going to take the sentiment from the holiday sentiments. We're going to be using Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. We're going to pick this up with the lid of our Misty. I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. This way we don't have any flyaway embossing powder. I'm going to be using white embossing powder today. So we're going to need our Versamark ink pad. I'm taking my watermark ink pad here. We're going to go over our wreath and our sentiment. And I'm going to stamp this directly on our red cardstock. And it just stamps beautifully. I'm going to go ahead and take some white embossing powder. We're going to go over this real beautiful wreath. Along with our sentiment that we stamped down on the bottom. I'm going to take my heat gun and we're going to melt this embossing powder. So our sentiment, our image is heat embossed. Eventually I'll wipe away that powder, but I want to wait for this to dry a little bit. In the meantime, I'm going to take the coordinating die and we're going to die cut out our wreath. And then I'm going to trim down our sentiment and so it's a thin strip. Now we have our wreath and our sentiment. Now I didn't bother trimming off the right side of our sentiment because I'm going to cut it off at the jolly mark. So just bringing in my paper trimmer, I'm going to trim this Christmas off. I'll trim it over here too a little bit more just so it's nice and even. So we have a holly jolly. Now we need Christmas. So I'm going to bring in some white cardstock. And I'm going to take the Christmas greetings script die set. And I'm going to die cut out this 3 times. Because I'm going to layer all 3 of these Christmases together. So I'm going to run this through my die cut machine and I'll be right back. We have 3 Christmases all cut out, and then that pretty font. I love the way the T swirls. I'm going to use my tape runner, and I'm just going to, you know what, let's better use glue. What I'm going to do is take my glue and I'm going to stack all 3 of these together for a little bit of dimension on my card. Like so, and we have a little bit of dimension to this, which is really nice. For my background, we're going to do a little bit of ink blending. We're going to do tone on tone. So for this, I'm going to bring in a piece of that same red cardstock that we used here, but I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to trim it down to a panel that measures 3 3/4 inches wide by 5.5 inches long. So it's going to go the width of my card base. We're going to ink blend this panel, and I'm using the Pretty Pink Posh Mini Grid Stencil along with the brand new Lumberjack Plaid Distress Oxide ink. I'm going for a tone on tone, just keeping it subtle. I already put pixie spray behind my stencil, so it will stick. Maybe I need to respray it, but maybe we should tack this down just in case. So I'm going to use some tape. Okay, there, just in case. I'm going to go over my stencil with my blending tool. And we're going to add just some lumberjack plaid to that background. I don't want it to take away from my wreath. I'm wiping off my stencil, and then we can go ahead and remove this. And it's very subtle, which is exactly what I wanted, because I don't want it to take away from our pretty wreath. I have a top folding A2 size card base. We're going to adhere this panel right down the middle of it. So we'll flip this over. Wonderful. And then I'm going to take my wreath and I'm going to flip it around. We're going to take some foam squares and pop this up. I removed the release paper off of my foam adhesive, and then we're going to add our wreath. I'm going to put it a little bit towards the top because our sentiment is going to go down here. And we'll just center it like so. I'm going to take my sentiment. We're going to go ahead and take our tape runner and add some adhesive behind here. If you wanted to use your glue, you could, but since we stacked 3 of these together, it's pretty durable. I'm going to add this to the very bottom, just kind of evenly spacing it from the left to the right. I think that's a good spot. The grid lines help also. And then I put some foam adhesive behind our sentiment. We're going to remove the release paper, and I'm going to add this. I am going to bring in some of the Pretty Pink Posh pearls, and this is just going to make all the difference in the world with this wreath. It's going to just bring it to life. So we have Pacific Blue. We have pistachio, ruby red, and we have plum. I think these are going to make nice regal colors that will go pretty as ornaments on our wreath. So I'm going to pour a little bit of each one of these pearls into my little trays, and we are going to adorn our wreath with some ornaments. Okay, I kind of have a lot in the dishes only because the small ones have a tendency to go to the bottom of our bag of pearls, and so I poured a generous amount in here. Now is the fun part. I'm going to use my glue, and we're just going to add dots. We're going to fill this wreath with lots of color, so I'm just going to add lots of dots. I'm going to keep my glue out because we'll probably use some more. And then we get to use our jewel tool, and we're going to add some bright color ornaments here. Mixing and matching. Now I'm just finishing up, filling in some open areas with these beautiful pearls. I think that's pretty well covered. I don't know if the camera can pick up how iridescent and shimmery that is. But I just love the way this looks. Okay, we're going to funnel these back in their packages. I'm going to go ahead and take some white twine. I'm going to double it up. I'm going to tie a bow with this. Just trim the tail. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to my wreath, and then I'll just tack down that bow. And then that will finish off my card today for Pretty Pink Posh. A beautiful holiday wreath filled with lots of colorful ornaments using the pearls, which are pretty fabulous. I thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you again real soon.